Hi guys, welcome! In this video, we'll dive into Oscar's DPS build for PvP. Unlike traditional burst mages, Oscar's damage profile revolves around stacking continuous HP loss effects and detonating them at carefully timed moments. On top of that, Oscar brings unique battlefield zone control, team protection, and force displacement, allowing him to function not just as a damage dealer, but also as a high-impact utility disruptor. If you missed our previous discussion regarding Oscar's skill mechanics and an analysis of his pros and cons, you can find the video link below. This time I'll cover everything you need to know from stats, runes, gears, cards, upgrades, and battle setup to guide you in optimizing your Oscar character for PvP. Alright, without further ado, let's begin. First, for attribute point distribution, focus on maximizing int to increase your raw magic attack. Next, when using any item that grants spell crit chance, you can max out luck to boost your spell crit damage. Personally, I aim for at least 40% spell crit chance as a good balance. After that, allocate the remaining points on Vit to boost survivability. As for damage modifiers, these are the stats that can further boost your damage against other players. Just like traditional magic classes, you should prioritize improving Ignoram Def, M-Pen, M-Piercing Strike, skill damage, damage to demi-human race, damage to players, and final damage to counter the target's innate reduction stats. All of Oscar's attack skills are neutral elements, so you also need to invest in neutral damage and neutral piercing strike. Oscar's neutral element counter coefficient is already increased by 0.3 through his undercurrent surge passive, so he isn't heavily disadvantaged when facing Ghost Ring card users. What sets him apart from the additional magic classes is his core passive, which converts time-eroding bubbles damage into HP loss, similar to how the Harvester 6v6 talent works. He can also increase the proc rate of continuous HP loss effects such as poison, bleed, and burn on enemies affected by temporal erosion bubble, making HP loss damage a worthwhile stat to invest in. That said, I don't recommend using a status-focused build on Oscar since his attack frequency is relatively slow and his bubble do not directly trigger those statuses. Finally, stats such as spell crit damage, magic damage to medium size, AoE skill magic damage, single target damage, crowd damage, and other true to final damage bonuses will further amplify his overall damage output. Up next, let's take a look at Oscar's runes. To play Oscar as a DPS in PvP, the minimum requirement is to max out his core passive, since this allows him to cycle his skills more frequently, even those with fixed cooldowns. You should also aim for high second line values on his star runes, as these directly increase his HP loss damage. As for first line effects, prioritize a high value on the Void Echo star rune to boost magnetic field effects damage by up to 50%, and on the Explosive Time Space star rune to increase the damage from unresolved bubble stacks. For added survivability, it's also important to roll high first line values on the Time Tide star rune and the Gravitational Wave rune. As for attribute runes, you may use the following attack, buff, and def runes. And for the arcane runes, I recommend getting both Bloody Rune and Transmission Rune for a direct damage boost, as well as Spirit Rune to prevent running out of SP during long fights. Up next, let's dive into the recommended equipment set and cards. First, for weapon, the best in slot is Oscar's signature weapon, All Nature Codex, as it directly boosts magnetic field effect and temporal erosion bubbles damage while providing a good amount of neutral damage, HP loss damage, and other magic damage modifiers. Its Tier 5 upgrade also extends the stasis duration by 3 seconds, which can be extremely disruptive for enemies. However, since it's very expensive, a solid alternative is Wizard's Power, which provides a significant amount of Ignoram Def. For weapon enchant, aim for double or triple status resist with high values. As for weapon cards, it's recommended to use these Revenant Star cards or other cards that directly increase your damage to players. For offhand, I recommend using Demon Hunter's Trophy in the main equipment slot and Creeper Agreement in the Phantom equipment slot to gain a substantial amount of Ignoram Def. Aim for Insight Fort enchant and reset the third attribute to a high luck value. As for offhand cards, just choose depending on the stat you're lacking. For armor, the best in slot for main equipment is Divine Guidance with neutral damage, but if you lack Ignoram Def, Other Shore Patrol with neutral damage is a good alternative. As for Phantom equipment, my top picks are the Chosen's Gown for Fear Immunity, Tipper's Binding Rope for increased magic damage and sustain, or Star Shatter's Gown for a direct magic damage boost. For armor enchant, aim for double or triple status resist with high values. As for armor cards, you can choose any of the following based on the stat you're lacking. Just note that Oscar has relatively low movement speed, so it will be better to use Revenant Bloody Knight star card or Empress Chip star card over the Icefallen Sign card. For garment, the only option is to use a classical robe with 12% skill damage as main equipment and Divine Feather Clothes as phantom equipment. Aim for Arcane 4th enchant and reset the 3rd attribute to a high status resist. As for garment cards, again just choose depending on availability and the stat you're lacking. For footgear, the options for main equipment are Order Guardian or Tristan's Grace. For Phantom footgear, you can use Arcane Shoes or White Gem Boots. Aim for Arcane 4th enchant and reset the 3rd attribute to a high status resist. As for footgear cards, use a Moonlight Flower card while moving and then switch to a damage boosting card like Swordsman Senya MVP card while channeling Space-Time Gaze. For accessories, I recommend using Red Rose Hair Clip as main equipment for a huge magic attack boost and Exorcising Talisman as phantom equipment to increase spell crit chance and ignore death. Aim for Anti-Mage 4th enchant and reset the 3rd attribute to a high luck stat. For accessory cards, just choose depending on availability and the stat you're lacking. You can also use an Eclipse's Carrot card for clearing debuffs. For headwear, here are my top picks for each slot, just choose depending on availability and the stat you're lacking. For head, I prefer Wheel of Fortune 4-leaf clover for 20% spell crit chance. Aim for a high luck and magic attack enchant. As for headwear cards, I prefer the Alien Fallen Angeling card to avoid abnormal statuses, but you can also use any of these damage boosting cards. For face, I prefer a high refined blush natural makeup as it provides a good amount of spell crit chance, ignore death, and AoE skill magic damage. Aim for Insight 4th enchant and reset the 3rd attribute to a high luck stat. For Mouth, the best slot is a Mouthful of Bliss, which gives 10% skill damage and 20% true to final damage when the target's HP is below 15%. Aim for a high luck and magic attack enchant. For back, the best slot is Freya's Wings for a 25% chance to trigger Lex Eterna on the target and directly boosting your damage to other players by up to 20%. Aim for Insight 4th enchant and reset the 3rd attribute to a high luck stat. And lastly, for Teal, the options are Paper Folding Magic for AoE skill magic damage, Pouring Shopping Bag for neutral damage, or It's Too Late for skill damage. Aim for Arcane 4th enchant and reset the 3rd attribute to a high luck stat. Up next, here are the other upgrades that you can invest in to further boost your damage. For Aesir Monument, activating all the nodes will grant the following stats. Notably, you'll gain 15% each of neutral damage, M-Pen, magic damage, and ignore death, as well as 10% magic attack. For guild buffs, make sure to max out all your blessings and prayers that provide magic piercing strike, neutral piercing strike, neutral damage, M-Pen, ignore death, and magic attack. For Oracle Mirror Extract, use any of the following based on the stat you're lacking. Personally, I prefer Abre Bow for damage to demi-human race or Stick of Wicked Thought for M-Pen. For Ancient Relics, my top 3 picks are Horn of the Unyielding, Horn of the Watcher, and Urine Necklace. For Equipment Memory, here's a summary of the attributes you should prioritize for each memory. And when it comes to skill inheritance, I recommend getting Amplified Magic Power, Status Vulnerability, and Improved Concentration. Finally, let's take a look at some tips for using Oscar in battle. First, place the following skills in your manual and auto skill bars. For Fate Retrospect, I recommend selecting Traction as it helps protect Oscar from nearby attackers. Once you're all set, use the following consumables that can further boost your damage, such as Mill Bees, Food Buffs, and Alloys. For the skill rotation, start by activating Amplify Magic Power and Time Wormhole. After that, manually cast Distorted Space on your target's location to slow them down and inflict Still status. You should also use Time Delay Black Hole to immobilize enemies with Stasis State. When enemies are under Still and Stasis State, that is the ideal window to channel Space-Time Gaze, allowing you to safely ramp up your damage. Turn on Auto Combat so that Magnetic Field Effect is automatically cast on your target's location, which then applies Temporal Erosion Bubble. Keep in mind that Oscar is immune to stasis, so only you and the enemy Oscar are able to move and cast skills during this state. Also note that once stasis ends, all affected units become immune to stasis for 15 seconds, so careful timing is important to avoid wasting your ultimate. As for Singularity of Silence, you only need to cast it occasionally since it already auto-procs every 3 seconds on enemies affected by the Temporal Erosion Bubble. And there you have it, that wraps up my complete guide to Oscar's DPS build for PvP. Again, it is always better to do your own tests and adjust your build based on the target's innate reduction stats to further maximize your damage output. If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to share them in the comment section below. And as always, keep in mind that the actual in-game content may vary from what's presented in this video. Alright, that's it for this video guys. Don't forget to like if you enjoyed watching this guide. If you're new here, I would love you to consider subscribing by hitting the subscribe button down below. I would love to have you back. Thank you for watching and see you in our next episode.